ForeFlight has introduced a new way to brief and fly instrument procedures called dynamic procedures. Today, we're going to see a demo and see how it works.
AOPA keeps flying safe, accessible, and fun by protecting your freedom to fly. We are the most trusted one-stop resource for all things related to general aviation. Become an AOPA pilot today. Thanks to Hartzell for sponsoring this video. Hartzell carbon fiber propellers are stronger, lighter, and faster. AOPA members receive a $1,000 discount.
Well, I'm Colin Stagnito, and today I'm with Cole Crawford. Cole, what is your role at ForeFlight?
I lead our product management team for our general aviation business at ForeFlight.
And so you were involved with developing dynamic procedures?
Yes, very
fantastic.
Very much so.
Well, then you're the perfect person to give us a demo and show us what this is all about. Looks really fascinating.
Awesome. Okay, well, let me take you to the iPad here. So I have a route a pretty simple route from Llano, Texas to Austin, Texas, which is my home airport.
Great.
You're probably familiar with Procedure Advisor already, but
Absolutely.
I'm going to show that real quick. So you can open the flight plan drawer and tap Procedure. You can select Approach, and this is all current existing functionality, but we'll get to dynamic procedures in a second. Tap ILS, runway 18 left, and we'll choose Hook 'em. At this point, we ask you to select your minima. So you can change the aircraft category. So I'm going to change to category B minima.
Okay.
We're going to be flying a Baron today. You can also tell us about the equipment status. Maybe the approach lighting system is out. Maybe the centerline lights are out. We will, if you tell us this, we will then go calculate the minima. We'll do all that lookup math in the minima table that you see on charts to figure out exactly which minima apply to you. So we're going to select the ILS today. And you can see there is a minimum of 692 feet. We'll press Add to Route. You'll see the map will move over to the approach. You'll see the new sidebar open, and we'll also geo-reference the plate on the map for you. Mm-hmm. So a couple things that you may or may not be familiar with, but we show the marker labels for every fix along the instrument approach, so you can see the speed and altitude constraints as you fly the procedure. Then you'll notice that we have introduced a new minimum safe area circling ring, so you can see the MSA defined graphically on the map with the different segments,
right.
The altitude constraints. Then you have the new sidebar. So the way the sidebar works is it opens automatically when you add a procedure to the route, but you can close it with a tap or open it with a tap to get it out of the way once you're done briefing or you don't need it.
One question here. I just want to see what happens. Okay. So this stays the same.
Correct.
The plate opens bigger, but this stays the same.
Correct, yeah. All of the aeronautical layer elements on the map and the route line, those are all dynamically drawn. So, you know, like if you started flying south, this plate's going to be upside down, right? But this is all going to be right side up.
Okay,
right? So
that's
all
cool. I like that. That's a nice part of the feature.
And it'll all move around. We try to keep it on the screen and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of fun decluttering math there.
Right.
In any case, let's talk about the sidebar for a second. So the prominent part of the sidebar, you'll see that you can identify the procedure that you're flying. So the ILS runway 18 left at Austin. You can hide the chart with a tap or show the chart with a tap. The way I tend to use this is after I brief and kind of get oriented at some point in the approach, I usually hide the chart so there's less on the screen and I can focus on just the altitude constraints and the things that I really need.
Perfect.
This does work with Jeppesen charts and with government charts. So you can use whichever chart provider you prefer.
Okay.
If you need to change any element of the procedure that you're flying, whether it's the transition, the minimums that you're going to use, or even the procedure itself, you can tap Change Approach and change any of those elements. So maybe ATC throws you a runway change at the last minute and you want to, change that, you can do that. Then we show you all the frequencies that you need for that procedure. In Austin, there's a lot. You can swipe through them if there's more than one page.
Nice. Then
we show you the notes for that procedure. The notes are filtered to only the notes that apply to the transition, procedure type, and minima that you selected.
Yeah. And that's convenient because a lot of times you don't need all the information on the approach plate.
Right, like an ILS loc plate, for example, is two separate procedures charted on the same piece of paper, but not all the notes apply. If you're flying the ILS, you may not need some of the notes that apply to the loc and vice versa. Yeah. So it filters just to that. But then the really important section that I'm looking at while I'm flying and I have this open is the route segment. So you'll see all the segments of the approach procedure with their speed and altitude restrictions, the course to be flown, and the distance of each leg. The iconography also matches the map, and the color code of these segments updates in real time as you fly the approach. So you can see that these route segments will change to a different color as you're flying, and they'll be in sync on both the sidebar and on the map.
Right.
Then probably the most important thing that you care about is your minima. So when you look at in a plate, and we'll show the chart here again real quick, you're probably familiar with seeing this crazy matrix of all these numbers, all these minima, right? And only one of them matters to you, right?
Yep.
And we show the one that you selected right there in a very bright magenta. You cannot miss it.
That is a great idea to declutter.
Yeah. So you're seeing one number. That's the only thing you care about, right? Then you can see in this case, we have RVR minima as well. Then one thing that we've brought into our experience with the sidebar is ForeFlight's 3D capabilities that people love out of our app. And so you can here see the approach lights. So rather than having to remember those approach lighting system codes that there's like 1,000 of them and you can never remember all the exact scenarios, we just show you a real 3D representation of what those lights look like. You can view them at this distance or on short final. If you have our premium subscription, you can also view it in full screen mode, which this is already an existing feature. But one thing that I like to show is if you put it in night mode, you can see that the lights animate. And watch the pappy on the left. As I tilt up, they change white or go red. So we actually respect the orientation of the lights in the frame.
Clever.
The next thing that we introduced as part of dynamic procedures is what we would call approach mode in profile. So you may be familiar with our profile view already. It kind of looks like this.
Yeah, I love that.
When you toggle it to approach mode, we kind of remove that bottom bar. We turn off the airspace. We turn off all the weather layers. We really emphasize lots of things so that you can see just that final segment. We turn off the route line. And in this case, you can see the step downs that you would fly prior to glide slope intercept. You can see the glide path angle, both graphically right there as that dashed line, or as the 3-degree value you'll see on the screen, as well as the threshold crossing height of 61 feet. You see again your very bright one minima, the 692-foot decision altitude. And because this is geo-referenced and to scale, and we put your little airplane on it when you're actually flying it, though we're not flying this right now, it gives you the ability to really see what the vertical profile of that approach is. And you can see what the difference would be between flying all the step downs or maybe intercepting the glide slope earlier than you normally would and taking that down. So you can see how big that space is or is not.
Right. Is there any difference in display portrait versus landscape, like the options that you see?
It's mostly the same on portrait and landscape. Like obviously the amount of real estate changes fractionally.
Right.
On iPhone, the way the sidebar comes up is it comes up from the bottom. So that would be the more different experience that you would see there.
Okay.
Let me show you a couple other approaches just to highlight some different capabilities. So we looked at a precision approach. We're going to reverse the route and go to Llano, Texas. And by the way, for anyone listening, if you have the opportunity, Llano, Texas has a great barbecue restaurant that you can fly into and get to very easily from the airport.
In all weather.
In all weather, yes, it is the place to go. In any case, we're going to select approach again. We're going to do the RNAV 17, beginning at a keiki, Cat B, LNAV, add to route. You know, this is again a pretty simple approach. The reason I like this is this has LNAV minimum, so I wanted to show a non-precision approach here. Okay. So just about everything else that I've already demoed will be the same. Two things I'd like to point out. One is the course reversal.
Right.
You can see in this case there's a max altitude and a minimum altitude when you go through the hold. You'll see that displayed there and on the sidebar here, as well as the words course reversal when you have a course reversal to fly. But I want to point out one of the notes here is there's a note that says 34 to 1 is not clear. You may expect customers will be unfamiliar with that. That is a note that only shows up on Jeppesen charts and does not show up on government charts that I find to be really useful. And so if you have government charts, you may not see that note on your government chart, but you will see it on the sidebar. And that's because this is all powered by Jeppesen's data. So you're getting access to data that you normally wouldn't otherwise have unless you had Jeppesen charts.
That's a nice bonus. In addition to the 3D view of the approach.
Exactly, in addition to that. So let's open profile view. So in profile view this time, you're gonna see how we show you everything as a step down. You can see the Maltese cross because this is a non-precision approach, so you have a final approach fix. And you're gonna see the MDA this time instead of the decision altitude. So you have to find your own way down from 1520 to the field elevation, right?
Yep.
To show you one other interesting approach, or maybe the approach isn't interesting, but a feature of it might be interesting. I'm just gonna remove this from route. We're going to do Taylor, Texas, which also is famous for its barbecue, so I don't want to leave them short. Tap approach. We're going to do the VOR runway 17 beginning at SDEF. And so a couple interesting things here. If we were looking at the government chart, which right now the Jeppesen chart's on the screen, but if you're looking at the government chart, there would be a note that says something like, if you use the executive altimeter setting rather than the Taylor altimeter setting, you have to increase your minimums by 40 feet, right? And you're probably familiar with this, like if condition true, then do this,
it's
right?
in the fine print in notes.
And then, so not only do you have to remember that crazy matrix at the bottom, but then you have to remember to add 40, and then it gets really confusing. Well, our minima selection just handles all of that for you. So you can see here that there's the VOR DME minimums, or there's VOR DME minima with executive altimeter setting, right? We're gonna just choose the field altimeter setting today, but I wanted to show that for you. Add to route, it's gonna move over, it's gonna set that all up. You'll notice that the first time you cross SDEF, you cross it at 2,500 feet, and we show you that arrow to show you that the minima changes depending on how many times you've crossed it, right? So you'll see here, you cross SDEF, course reversal, then you jump down to 2,200. What's interesting about this approach is you approach the runway at a sort of catty corner angle. You're not coming, it's not a straight in approach. And so when we show you the lights in 3D, we are going to show it to you at the angle you're approaching the runway, so that you get a realistic expectation of where to look and what the environment will look like when you come out of the clouds just above minimum. So I think that's a pretty neat approach to show. And then we can also show you the circling area as well. So let me show that real quick. We're going to select circling minima, add to route. So we also will show you the circling area on the map so that you can see exactly how big that space really is. And so we calculate all of that for you because it's based on the runway ends, and it's kind of hard to do that mental math while you're in IMC and flying, right? And so we just show you where that space is.
Keep you in the protected airspace.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I love, that's a really neat feature. I certainly love doing all the math for us on the MDA and the DA. Yeah. That's really convenient.
Awesome. So let me explain when you customers will actually see this.
Okay.
So we'll be released. So we're showing it at the show, and we've announced it, and we have our beta test customers are all using it now. But we plan to release this in the next week or so to all customers. So it'll just be a download that you can download in the App Store. And then how it's packaged is it's going to be available for our our essential and above customers, so our middle and above tier customers. Permanently, it'll be available for the ForeFlight region that you've paid for. So if you've paid for a ForeFlight US subscription and you're essential or above, then you'll have it for all of the approaches in the United States. But it won't work for countries that you haven't paid for. Right. And then it's going to be available for approaches in Canada and the United States on launch day. Additionally, we are doing a limited time preview for our starter customers. So for approximately 3 months, they're going to get access to it as well for that time period to give it a try if they'd like to. And during that limited time preview, we're also giving away our geo-referenced plates feature to customers on our starter plan as well, which, as you know, is one of the most popular features of our middle tier. So we wanted all of those customers to experience geo-referenced plates as well.
So starter, essential,
premium.
Premium.
Yes.
Right. So anybody who has the essential and the premium, this is going to, it'll be in the next app update after AirVenture.
Exactly, yes. The only other thing they need to make sure they do is keep their downloads up to date. So, you know, if you're familiar, you go to more downloads, and you can see your database downloads. You do need to be on the latest airport and nav database cycle for it to work as well.
And this is a nice additional feature. Can't wait to fly with this. Are you going to be increasing subscription prices based on having this?
No, we don't have any plans to increase the price next week.
Excellent. So it's a value add for the moment.
Yes, it's a value add. We're excited to see what people think about it and give it a try. So
excellent.
Awesome.